रंजन यशोदनंदन व्रजजन रंजन यमुना तीरा वनचारी यमुना तीरा वनचारी जय राधा माधव कुंज बिहारी जय राधा माधव कुंज बिहारी हरे कृष्णा कृष्ण कृष्ण हरे 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 राम 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 हरे 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 कृष्ण 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 हरे 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 राम 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 हरे 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 कृष्ण 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 हरे 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 राम 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 हरे 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 कृष्ण 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 हरे 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 राम 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 हरे 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 कृष्ण 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 हरे 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 राम राम हरे 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 कृष्ण 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 हरे 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 राम राम हरे 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 कृष्ण 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 हरे 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 राम राम हरे 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 कृष्ण 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 हरे 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 राम राम हरे 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 कृष्ण 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 हरे 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 राम 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 हरे 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 कृष्ण 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 हरे 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 राम राम हरे हरे जय प्रभुपदा जय प्रभुपदा शील प्रभुपदा जय प्रभुपदा जय प्रभुपदा शील प्रभुपदा जय गुरुदेवा जय गुरुदेवा जय गुरुदेवा जय ओम पुष्पाल परमहंस प्रत्यक्ष स्तोत्र सदस्य श्रीमती स्मरण श्री भक्तिवेदांत स्वामी शिल प्रभुपाद की जय। ISKCON संस्थापक आचार्य शिल प्रभुपाद की जय। जय ओम पुष्पाल परमहंस प्रत्यक्ष स्तोत्र सदस्य श्रीमद भक्ति सिद्धांत सरस्वती गोस्वामी महाराज प्रभुपाद की जय। जय ओम पुष्पाल श्री गौर किशोरदास बाबू महाराज की जय। जय ओम पुष्पाल सच्चानंद श्री भक्ति विनोद ठाकुर की जय। जय ओम विष्णुपाद वैष्णव सर्वम श्री जगन्नाथ दास बाबू महाराज की जय। जय श्री रूप सनातन भट्ट रघुनाथ श्री जी गोपाल भट्ट दास रघुनाथ गोस्वामी प्रभु की जय। नमाचार्य श्रीदास ठाकुर की जय। प्रेम से गौ श्री कृष्ण चैतन्य प्रभु नित्यानंद श्री अद्वैत दास स्वासादि गौर भक्तवृंद की जय। श्री श्री राधा कृष्ण कोट गोपीनाथ श्याम कुंड राधा कुंड गिरि गोवर्धन की जय। श्री श्री राधा कृष्ण चंद्र भगवान की जय। श्री जगन्नाथ बलदेव सुभद्रा महेश दर्शन भगवान की जय। श्री मायापुर धाम की जय। श्री वृंदावन धाम की जय। गंगा माई की जय। यमुना माई की जय। भक्ति देव की जय। तुलसी महारानी की जय। All glories to the assembled bodies, all glories to the assembled bodies, all glories to the assembled bodies, all glories to Shri Guru and Shri Gauranga, all glories to Srila Prabhupada. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya, Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya, Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya, Narayanam Namaskritya, Naram Chaiva Narottamam, Devim Saraswati Vyasam, Tato Jayamudirayet, Nashtaprayeshu Apatreshu, Nityam Bhagavad Sevaya, Bhagavate Uttama Sloke Bhaktir Bhavati Naishtihi. Hare Krishna. So we are reading today from Srimad Bhagavatam's Canto 3, Chapter 15 and Text 21. Shri Rupini Panayati Charanarapindam Lilam Bujena Hari Satmani Mukta Dosha Samlakshyate Spatika Kutyo Peta Hemni Sammar Jati Vayat Anugrahane Yatnaha Shri Rupini Panayati Charanarapindam Lilam Bujena Hari Satmani Mukta Dosha Samlakshyate Spatika Kutyatupeta Hemni Sammarjati Vayad Anugrahane Yatnaha Shri Rupini Panayati Charanaravindam Lilam Bujena Hari Satmani Mukta Dosha Samlakshyate Spatika Kutyau Peta Hemni Sammarjati Vayad Anugrahane Yatnaha. Translation Srila Prabhupada ki jai. The ladies in the Vaikuntha planets are as beautiful as the goddess of fortune herself. Such transcendently beautiful ladies, their hands playing with lotuses and their bangles tinkling, are sometimes seen sweeping the marble walls, which are bedecked at intervals with golden borders in order to receive the grace of the Supreme Personality of Godhead. Purport Srila Prabhupada ki jai. In the Brahma Samhita, it is stated that the Supreme Lord Govinda is always served in his abode by many, many billions of goddess of fortune. Lakshmi Sahasrara Samparva Sepyamanam, Brahma Samhita 529. These millions and trillions of goddesses of fortune who reside in the Vaikuntha planets are not exactly consorts of the Supreme Personality of Godhead, but are the wives of the devotees of the Lord and also engage in the service of the Supreme Personality of Godhead. It is stated here that in the Vaikuntha planets, the houses are made of marble. Similarly, in the Brahma Samhita, it is stated that the ground on the Vaikuntha planets is made of touchstone. Thus, there is no need to sweep the stone in Vaikuntha, for there is hardly any dust on it. But still, in order to satisfy the Lord, the ladies there always engage in dusting the marble walls. Why? The reason is that they are eager to achieve the grace of the Lord by doing so. It is also stated here that in the Vaikuntha planet, the goddess of fortune are faultless. Generally, the god of fortune does not remain steadily in one place. Her name is Chanchala, which means one who is not steady. We find, therefore, that a man who is very rich may become the poorest of the poor. Another example is Ravana. Ravana took away Lakshmi, Sitaji, to his kingdom, and instead of being happy by the grace of Lakshmi, his family and his kingdom were vanquished. Thus, Lakshmi in the house of Ravana is Chanchala, or unsteady. Men of Ravana's class want Lakshmi only without her husband Narayana. Therefore, they become unsteady due to Lakshmiji. Materialistic persons find fault on the part of Lakshmi, but in Vaikuntha, Lakshmiji is fixed in the service of the Lord. In spite of her being the goddess of fortune, she cannot be happy without the grace of the Lord. Even the goddess of fortune needs the Lord's grace in order to be happy. Yet in the material world, even Brahma, the highest created being, seeks the favor of Lakshmi for happiness. Hare Krishna. Om Jnanatimirandasya Jnananjana Chakshurmilitam Mena Tasmai Shri Gurave Namaha. Shri Chaitanya Manobhishtam Sthapitam Yena Bhutale Swayam Rupakadamahyam Dadati Swaparantikam Vandeham Shri Guru Shri Vidapadakammalam Shri Gurun Vaishnavamscha Shri Rupam Sagrajatam Saganarakunathanvitam Tam Sajivam Sadvaitam Savadutam Parijana Saitam Krishna Chaitanya Devam Shri Radha Krishna Padan Saganalita Shri Vishakanvitamscha Ye Krishna Karuna Sindhu Deenabandho Jagatpate Gopesha Gopika Kanta Radha Kanta Namostude Taptakanchana Gaurangi Radhe Vrindavaneshwari Ushabhanusute Devi Pranamami Haripriye Vancha Kalpatarubhyascha Kapasnurubhye Vacha Patitanam Pavnebhyo Vaishnavebhyo Namo Namaha Jai Sri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhara Shri Vasadi Gaura Bhakta Vrinda Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare Hare Om Karudeva Chala Pankaj Pradhe Pad Muhammad Shri Guru Nityananda Paramatma Shri Chaitanya Ishvara. Hare Krishna. So I would like to welcome you all to this Tuesday morning Srimad Bhagavatam class. So today we have some important points in this particular sloka. Mentions about how in Vaikuntha the planets are naturally beautiful, they are attractive, and they are free from dust, etc. Unlike the material world, we see so much of dust, like if you clean whether with a broom or you have these days vacuum cleaners, minutes after that you will have a lot of dust settling down. So that is how the material world is like. But it is said that in the Vaikuntha planets, the planets are very, very beautiful, and they are all decorated with marble and golden borders and things like that, that they look so very beautiful and attractive. But there is no need to dust these places. But still, the goddess of fortune, they continue to clean just to attract the attention of the Lord and please the Lord. So it is not that they don't have the mercy of the Lord, but that is the natural position of every living entity in the spiritual planets, that is to serve the Supreme Lord for His pleasure, not for our own pleasure. The material world is so dirty, so this thing, that there is nothing that can bring cleanliness to this place. That's how it is. So it has been created like that, so that we understand what is cleanliness. Whereas the Vaikuntha spiritual world, they are all very, very clean. And then it mentions about how they wear bangles, golden bangles and things like that, and they sing with the lotuses in their hands, and there are plenty of lotuses. These days you can't even see gold. Gold is also very rare, and lotus is also becoming rare day by day. So this is how the material world is. But the spiritual world is full in all these things. There is no scarcity of these things, because everybody wants to please the Lord, and they are all living entities. And there is a very nice verse in Brahma Samhita where Lord Brahma prays, Chintamani prakara satma sukalpa vriksha lakshavritesu surabhira vipalayantam lakshmi sahasrada sambrama sevyamanam govindamadi purusham tamaham bhajami. In the translation it says, I worship Govinda, the primeval Lord, the first progenitor who is tending the cows, yielding all desire in abodes built with spiritual gems, surrounded by millions of purpose trees, always served with great reverence and affection by hundreds and thousands of Lakshmis or gopis. So Lord Brahma prays to the Supreme Lord. He says, I worship that Govinda, the primeval Lord, who is tending the cows, yielding all desire in abodes built with spiritual gems. That is, this spiritual world is built with all gems, which we may not be able to see even here, or we may not be able to visualize. And they are surrounded by millions of purpose trees. These are the desire trees, that whatever desire one has, all these desires are fulfilled by these desire trees. And the Lord is served with great reverence and affection by hundreds and thousands of Lakshmis or gopis. So Srila Prabhupada mentions in the purport that these hundreds and thousands which I mentioned, they are not all the goddesses of fortune, but they are all the wives of the devotees of the Lord. Yeah. And they all engage in the service of the Lord. Why? Because they are eager to achieve the grace of the Lord by doing. So we might want to clean our houses and things like that for our own sense gratification, but there they are wanting to keep their places clean to get the grace of the Lord, to please the Lord. And there are millions of these desire trees or purpose trees which fulfill the desires of the living entities there. Now, in the material world, if we see the first significance of a house that has a lot of opulence is having a lot of servants in the house. Now, generally we see that if somebody is not very opulent, they might do this cleaning and all these things on their own. But the moment they get some opulence, the first thing is they see, okay, now I must have a servant. Because the wife starts thinking that how can I clean with a broom and all these things when they are so rich? It's a general tendency. There may be exception, but these are general tendencies. And as the opulence keeps growing, then the number of servants also keep growing. One may be there to clean the house, one may be there to clean the vessels, and there are houses where there are many, many servants. So it has become a status symbol that exhibits one's opulence in their situation. Whereas in the spiritual world, the goddesses of fortune, they themselves want to clean to please the Lord. So here it is our false ego that we have. An example is given that Kalindi introduced herself to Draupadi as a sweeper in the house of Krishna. That is how they introduce themselves. That is why when someone comes to Krishna consciousness, normally we give them initially some services like cleaning the temple hall, cleaning the kitchen, cleaning the bookshelves, or one in a slightly advanced stage may be given cleaning the altar. Because what happens is that when we clean these places, our heart also gets cleaned. And only when our heart gets cleaned, which is full of all the anarthas, that one becomes capable of understanding the spiritual matters. In fact, there is an example given here, given in Sri Chaitanya Charitamrita, where King Prataparudra attracted the attention of Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu when he took the broom to sweep the road of the dust. Before Rath Yatra, normally you find some devotees taking a broom and cleaning the path so that the Lord's cart can travel on that. So that is what attracts the Lord, and Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu was very pleased. Actually, I'll just read the purport of that particular sloka. Very, very nice. It says, such are the qualifications of a pure devotee. Materially, one may be very opulent, experienced, influential and educated. But if one still thinks himself lower than the straw in the street, one attracts the attention of Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu or Lord Krishna. I mean, materially, whatever it might be, we might think that we are very, very opulent. But what really attracts the Supreme Lord is how one considers himself to be very humble. And here the example is given lower than a straw in the street. Prataparudra was a king. There was no need for him to clean the road, but he took up the broom to clean the road for Lord Jagannath's Rath. This was his humble attitude, by seeing which Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu was very, very pleased. And he was so pleased that the Lord embraced him. In fact, according to Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu's instructions, a devotee should never be puffed up by material power. He should know that the material power is a result of one's past good activities and is consequently transient. At any moment, all of one's material opulence can be finished. Therefore, a devotee is never proud of such opulence. He is always humble and meek, considering himself lower than a piece of straw. Because of this, the devotees are eligible to return home back to Godhead. So here, one qualification is given, that our humility, the more we become humble, the more the Lord becomes pleased. Not only that, all these material opulences, they may be here with us today, and tomorrow they might go away. But what remains with us is our character. And one of the most important qualities that a devotee has is humility, which is what attracts Krishna. Now we will understand a little bit more on this. Just like Krishna is the fountainhead of all the incarnations, similarly the consorts of the Lord are all expansions of Lord Krishna through Srimati Radharani, and there are various categories. Like actually, what is Srimati Radharani in Vrindavan is actually Rukmini in Dwarka, Lakshmi in Vaikuntha, and Sita Devi in Ayodhya. In fact, all the consorts of the Lord the gopis of Vrindavan, the queens of Dwarka, and the innumerable Lakshmis of Vaikuntha, they are all expansions of Srimati Radharani, who herself is an expansion from the Supreme Lord. And they all try to serve the Supreme Lord in various rasas. And all of them are the internal potency of the Lord. They are all eternal associates in the spiritual world, and they are not conditioned living entities like us. So the gopis, queens, they have all these qualities, and they use these qualities to serve the Lord, by which they can please the Lord through the various rasas. So this is how the living entities in this the souls in the spiritual world, they always, because even by constitutional position, we are all meant to serve the Supreme Lord. But somehow we have fallen into this material world, and the Lord has given us an opportunity to reform or correct our understanding so that we can go back to our own home, which is the spiritual world, where we are meant to serve the Lord. And that serving the Lord means becoming humble in our attitude, not proud with our opulences. So that's what it says, that material opulence may be there with us today, but it may go off tomorrow. We don't know. I will come to that point, how material opulence stays. Then it mentions about how in Vaikuntha planets, the goddess of fortune are faultless. They are free of all the anarthas that we have, like lust, anger, greed, envy, madness, and illusion. There, they are all free from all these anarthas. The next point that is mentioned is about how the goddess of fortune is called Chanchala in this material world, one who is not steady in one place. We might see that all of a sudden, one might be, like I mentioned at the beginning of the class, one might not be very, very opulent. And all of a sudden, due to their past karma, they might get some opulence. But what happens is that as one gets opulent, then one's false ego also starts building up. Why I should do this? I'm like this, I'm like that. Whatever I have is because of me. That I and mine plays a big role once we become opulent. And that is the time Lakshmi Devi leaves that place. That means one who is rich may become the poorest of the poor. Srila Prabhupada mentions the purport. But in Vaikuntha, there is nothing like that. Everyone is full in everything, because that is what life is there in the spiritual world. There is no scarcity of anything. And they, most importantly, is they all feel themselves to be servants of the Supreme Lord, not servants of their own self. Just as Krishna has many expansions like Vishnu, Narayana, Balram, Sankarsana, and so forth, Srimati Radharani has got many expansions, and they are categorized as either the goddess of fortune, or the gopis in Vrindavan, or the Lakshmis in Vaikuntha, like that. So these are various categories that are there. So when one understands that everyone in the spiritual world, they are meant to serve the Supreme Lord, and they do that service they want to do. Here, sometimes even after coming to Krishna consciousness, initially we may think that why we are being forced to do that. I'll come to this point. But there they all want to do to please the Lord. So one example that is there, which Prabhupada quotes, is about from Ramayana. Ravana became puffed up and he took away Sita by force. But what happened was his kingdom, his family, everything was vanquished. That is why it is said that Lakshmi in the house of a Ravana is chanchala or unsteady. Men of Ravana class want Lakshmi without Narayana, her husband. So they become unsteady due to Lakshmi alone. So the point is that if we worship Lakshmi, the goddess of fortune, for our enjoyment, for enjoyment of our senses, then she will leave. Whereas if we utilize the same Lakshmi in the service of the Supreme Lord and worship both Lakshmi as well as the Supreme Lord together, then the Lord becomes pleased and the goddess of fortune also becomes pleased, and she does not leave a place like that. That is the sum and substance of this sloka, that if one worships Lakshmi with Narayana, then she is not Chanchala. Whereas if we worship Lakshmi alone for our material sense gratification, she will leave at some point or the other. Sometimes the Lord might deprive a living entity in this material world just to bring him or to a point of full surrender. Many times we might see that we might take up the process of Krishna consciousness, but then our surrender might not be complete. So in order to bring, if the Lord wants to take us all back to his home, but we are reluctant. So sometimes the Lord might say, I need to take him back to my home. So sometimes the Lord might take away all the opulences that we may be having, even though we may be serving the Lord. So we may be thinking, I'm serving the Lord, why I'm being deprived of everything. But that at that stage, a devotee should understand that the Lord, whatever has done, he has done for my benefit, that I should be becoming humble. It is time for me to go back to the spiritual world. So if one worships Lakshmi with her consort, which is Narayana, then she is not Chanchala. Actually, there are some more points which I'll come to. Now, in this 8th canto of Srimad Bhagavatam, there is a quote in the 9th chapter, 18th sloka, for which Vishwanath Chakravarti Thakura comments, the Supreme Lord has appeared in the feminine form in that Mohini Murti. And this form, assumed by the personality of Godhead, challenged the goddess of fortune. Actually, the goddess of fortune, that is Lakshmi, is very, very beautiful. But if the Lord accepts the form of a woman, he surpasses the goddess of fortune in beauty. It is not that the goddess of fortune, being a female, is the most beautiful, but the Lord is so beautiful that he can surpass even the beauty of the goddess of fortune, even by assuming a female form. But even in this male form as Krishna, the Lord is very, very beautiful. And there is a sloka in the Gita Govinda, from which I will read out just the translation, that he is so beautiful that and he is transcendent and attractive that he sometimes attracts his own self, even himself he is attracted. So in Gita Govinda, the prayer says, my dear friend, just see how Krishna is enjoying his transcendental pastimes in the spring by expanding the beauty of his personal body. His soft legs and hands, just like the most beautiful moon, are used on the bodies of gopis. When he embraces different parts of their bodies, he's so beautiful. Krishna is so beautiful that he attracts even Narayana as well as the goddess of fortune who associate with Narayana. So Krishna is so beautiful that even Lord Narayana is attracted to seeing the beauty of the Lord Krishna. This is the beauty of Lord Krishna. Why? Because everything emanates from the Lord, whether it is beauty, fame, opulence, everything comes from the Supreme Lord only. So when one has this understanding, that is a correct one. Now, if one is there in this material world, whether it is we or the demigods or even the creator Lord Brahma, everyone requires opulence. But even the demigods, even Lord Brahma, they worship Lakshmi Devi for opulence. But it is better not to worship her only for the opulence. And when she's goddess of fortune is worshipped with her consort, Narayana, then the Lord becomes very, very pleased. Another reason why everything goes away from this material world, there is a tendency in this material world that there is a lifespan for everything. So similarly, a jiva might get an opulence, but then the opulence also starts decreasing. But as long as they are used in the service of the Lord, then everything will be in abundance. There is a quote in Srimad Bhagavatam, 7th canto, 11th chapter, 29th sloka, which says, the woman who engages in the service of her husband, following strictly in the footsteps of the goddess of fortune, surely returns home back to Godhead with her devotee husband and lives very happily in the Vaikuntha planets. So this is a very good point that is there, is that the Lord Vishnu is worshipped by not one but many thousands of goddess of fortune. And in Goloka Vrindavan, the Lord is worshipped by many thousands of gopis, all of whom are the goddess of fortune. In fact, all the gopis are also the goddess of fortune. So like I mentioned in the beginning of the class, what the gopis are in Vrindavan, the goddess of fortune are in Vaikuntha, and they are the queens in Dwarka. And in that it says, a man should be an ideal servant of the Lord, and a woman should be an ideal wife like the goddess of fortune. Then both the husband and wife will be so faithful and strong that by acting together, they will return home back to Godhead without a doubt. So the point is that a man should live like the Supreme Lord. He does not become the Supreme Lord, but should live. And his wife should be like the goddess of fortune. And when they live like that, between themselves so faithfully and by acting strongly together, then they return back to Godhead in this lifetime itself. So in this context, Madhvacharya has given a shloka. I'll just read the translation. A woman should think of her husband as the Supreme Lord. Similarly, a disciple should think of the Supreme Spiritual Master as the personality of Godhead. A Shudra should think of a Brahmana as the Supreme Personality of Godhead, and a servant should think of his master as the Supreme Personality of Godhead. In this way, all of them will automatically become devotees of the Lord. In other words, by thinking this way, all of them become Krishna conscious. That is, it is said that in a house where a husband and wife live in a harmony, Lakshmi ji stays in that house. Whereas in a house where the husband and wife keep quarreling, Lakshmi leaves that house. That means a woman should think of her husband as a Supreme Lord. At the same time, a husband also should live like the way Supreme Lord lives. And another big point is that in the material world, the more opulence we have, the more anxious we become, because we become worried and we think, oh, I must keep this money there in this locker, that vault, this vault, and all those things. Otherwise, some robber might come and take it away. But a devotee is generally not worried because he knows that everything belongs to the Lord and everything has to be used in the service of the Lord. And in that way, he is fearless, which is true. If you know, or if you have the understanding that everything comes from the Lord to be used in the service of the Lord, then that opulence remains. It does not go away. There is a pastime in the Chaitanya Bhagavat where it is said that Advaita Acharya invited Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu to his house for taking a honoring prasadam, and nothing got exhausted. Everything was in abundance. The point is, the conclusion is that as long as we use everything in the service of the Lord, for the pleasure of the Lord, then everything will be in plenty. And Krishna has a lot of spiritual qualities. And why he manifests, it is said that he manifests these qualities to have pastimes with his devotees. So devotees also have spiritual qualities, and they are given these qualities to enjoy that pastime with Krishna for the pleasure of the Lord, not for their own pleasure. And in the spiritual world, the devotees forget that about their sense pleasure. They always look at the pleasure of the Lord, which is what is mentioned in this particular sloka also. There is a very nice example given in the Srimad Bhagavatam. You see, we all know about the Brahma Vimohan Lila, where Brahma took the cowherd boys and the calves. And actually what Brahma was seeing was, he saw that the cowherd boys were putting their prasadam in Krishna's mouth, and Krishna was putting his prasadam in the cowherd boy's mouth. So from a materialistic point of view, it is like an uchishta. So Brahma started thinking, how is it that this he can be a Supreme Lord? He is taking the uchishta of these cowherd boys. So he was bewildered. So what to talk about Brahma? It is said that even the goddess of fortune, Lakshmi, she many times get bewildered seeing the pastimes of the Supreme Lord. And she wants to be a part of the pastimes on the Goloka or Vrindavan. So there is an example given that one time Krishna asked the goddess of fortune that because she had a desire to associate with Krishna. So Krishna asked Lakshmi that in Vrindavan, the gopis tend to milk the cows. Are you willing to do that? And she said, no, how can I do that? I'm a queen. So these are all the bewildering pastimes of the Lord. I mean, these pastimes are given to us so that we can understand. Now, it is not that Lakshmi was not wanting to milk the cow, in the sense that it should not be understood in the wrong manner. But whereas in Goloka or Gokul, the gopis all tend to milk the cows. Now, there is a nice quote in the Bhakti Rasamrita Sindhu, which says, one should actually serve Krishna in a way that is agreeable and is pleasing to Krishna, free from other motives. Cheating propensity is the covering of karma or jnana. I mean, this is ultimately the point is that we must become free from all desires excepting to please the Supreme Lord. Other than that, we should not have any other desire. Now, as we go higher and higher in the spiritual world, the Lakshmis worship their consort Narayana with a lot of awe and reverence. But as we go higher and higher in the spiritual world, like Ayodhya and then Gokul and Goloka, the rasas change. I'm not going too deep into that subject, but just to give us some substance. The Lord is worshipped in Shanta Rasa, Dasya Rasa, Sakya Rasa, Vatsalya Rasa, Madhurya Rasa, and so forth. So as one goes higher and higher in the spiritual world, the rasas keep changing. So whereas in the Vaikunthas, the Lakshmis or the goddess of fortune worship the Lord with a lot of awe and reverence, which is not there in Gokul or Goloka. Now, we have all these anarthas, like I mentioned, lust, anger, greed, envy, and all those things. The only way that we can come out free from all these anarthas is to take up the process of Krishna consciousness. And there are some quotes as to how this devotional service dissolves everything that we have. In the 3rd canto, 25th chapter, there's a sloka, 33rd sloka, it says, Bhakti or devotional service dissolves the subtle body of the living entity without separate effort, just as fire in the stomach digests all that we eat. See, when we eat something, there is fire in the stomach. And many times we may have problems if that fire is not there. So it is said that it is the fire in the stomach that digests all that we eat. So devotional service is something that when we take it up, it dissolves all our gross and subtle body. Everything gets dissolved at the end of leaving this body. And then one can go back to the spiritual world and enjoy, like the way the Lakshmis or the Gopis, whatever rasa that we all have, there is some rasa that we have, which is hidden. We may not be understanding that, but as we perform devotional service and become free from all these anarthas, then we can understand, yes, that we also have a rasa which was hidden. Srila Prabhupada always quotes that the service in the spiritual world is the best, and many times, like we may feel that why am I being forced to do this, forced to do that? But in the spiritual world, the service is voluntary, and we want to please the Supreme Lord, whereas here we want to please our own selves. But when a jiva starts rendering service to Govinda, then the other things like lust and anger give up their dominance. And we see that normally those who are taking to the process of chanting and hearing, they become free from all this lust, anger, greed, envy, and so forth. Now, an important point which I was missing. Yes, the goddess of fortune herself, she is there with Narayana all the time in the Vaikuntha world. But then she also seeks the association of the Supreme Lord Krishna, and she gets attracted by just hearing the flute of Krishna. That is how even in the spiritual world there is variety. And there was this thing that meant there's a mention in the Bhakti Rasam Sindhu or even in the teachings of Lord Chaitanya, where Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu explains how even that goddess of fortune wanted to attain the position like the gopis after she heard, when she got to know about the Supreme Lord Krishna and this association with the, even the goddess of fortune wanted to attain that. But not everybody has every rasa. Like the like I mentioned, different living entities have different rasas. And she performed, the goddess of fortune herself performed penance to associate with Krishna. So there are there's a lot of variegatedness and variety in the spiritual world, but which we may not know and understand this today. But as one starts performing devotion service, one can also understand this. There is a quote in the 11th canto of Srimad Bhagavatam, where Lord Krishna is giving instructions to Uddhava. He says, "My dear Uddhava, devotionals and once again, I lost that. Yeah, a devotional service unto me is like a blazing fire which can burn into ashes unlimited fuel supply rate. In a fire, we put fuel, everything gets burned. Similarly, whatever devotional service, to the extent that we perform, the purpose is that the blazing fire can burn any amount of fuel that is there. So devotional service is like a fire, and it can burn up all our sinful tendencies or propensities. That is how powerful the process is. See, many times people come to the temple and they may see, oh, this person is cleaning. I also have to clean the temple. I have to clean and all, the kitchen and all those things. They may become averse to it, but that is the beginning of the process. When we clean our heart, clean the temple, we are cleaning our heart. Sri Jiva Goswami actually quotes that the beginning of bhakti is that, yes, Krishna can do this and Krishna can do that. Normally we tend to, when we hear, we also tend to criticize, but that is not the correct process. Krishna can do anything to attract the living entities. And the beginning of the process, like Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, is like chanting and hearing Shravanam and Kirtanam. This Shravanam and Kirtanam is like watering the root of a devotional service. The devotional service is there within us, but it is covered. And when we take up the process of chanting and hearing Shravanam Kirtanam, then it is said that it grows beyond the 14 planetary systems, beyond even Brahma Jyoti, and crosses the Vaikuntha planets and reaches Goloka Vrindavan and gives flowers and fruits of devotional service in the form of ecstatic love and Krishna Prem. So if we take up this process of Shravanam and Kirtanam, we also can attain perfection. It is said that the goddess of fortune, she is always situated in the chest of Lord Vishnu, but still she wanted to take the dust of the Supreme Lord Krishna. Knowledge, beauty, all these things are natural in us, but they are all covered by the anarthas that we have. So I have covered most of the important points in today's sloka. With this, I conclude the class for the day. If anyone has got any questions, any comments, they can ask me. Hare Krishna. Hare Krishna. Hare Krishna. Hare Krishna.
Yes, Prabhu, can you hear me?
Yes, yeah, I can hear, Prabhu. Any questions, comments from devotees?
Yes, Prabhu, I have one question.
Yes, Prabhu, please ask me.
So, even if in devotee circle, if we
the voice is breaking. I don't know what is the reason.
that whenever we are asked for rendering service,
Yes,
whether
yes.
it is in temple, side of the temple, I mean, it's breaking, Prabhu.
Yeah, voice is breaking. I don't know. There is some problem with the network. Yes, can you repeat the question again? Now it is okay.
Okay, Prabhu. Okay. Okay. So I'm asking Prabhu that, even in devotee circle, we see that when it comes to render service to the Lord, whether it is in temple or any outreach program or anything else,
Yes.
why it is so that we are so reluctant to do that.
The last part of it, at that time, the voice broke. When we were asked to render service to a temple or altar or kitchen, what happens?
Devotees are not, having that much of, energy or the enthusiasm to serve. Rather than they are reluctant to do that.
Okay. Now, actually, it is we who have to set an example to the newcomers, and we have to. It's actually a process. Is a cultivation. We say Krishna consciousness is a cultivational process. Not everybody is surrendered and have the right understanding. We must try to and preach to them and what is the purpose of cleaning, because as long as one does not understand the cleaning of the heart is necessary, one may not have that desire to even clean their temple hall or something. But we must try and preach to them as to what is the purpose of cleaning. So it is a process which we must try and explain to them. To some, it may reflect immediately, and some may take a very long time. There are many who are there in this moment for many years, but still they have not taken up the process very seriously because they are covered. So we cannot force this, but we must try and preach and try to cultivate the process within their hearts by preaching and explaining to them that this is the purpose of it. Did I answer your question, Prabhu?
Okay. Yes, Prabhu.
Yes. Any other questions anybody has got? Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna, Prabhu. Thank you, Prabhuji, for the wonderful class.
Thank you, ma'am.
And yeah, the importance of cleaning is
yes,
is very much to be remembered. Thank you.
Devotional service starts with cleaning, Mataji. Cleaning the heart is very important.
Yes, Prabhu. Yes.
Anybody else? Hare Krishna. So if there are no more questions or comments, can I take the class as closed? Can I? Hare Krishna.
Prabhuji.
Yes, Mataji.
It's not related to exactly to what the class was, but
okay.
Like what are the functions of the other expansions, Prabhuji, like Aniruddha, Pradyumna?
It's a very deep subject, Mataji, in the sense that Krishna has got so many expansions and incarnations. I may not be able to dwell on this subject within a short time. But all the expansions are there to please Krishna, whether it is Narayana or Balaram. Even Balaram, who is the first expansion of Krishna, he always tries to please Krishna. So all the expansions of the Lord have different purposes. So like I mentioned.
Yes, Prabhu. So like generally Sankarshana or Balarama and Radha's is generally very much like we get to hear. So
Yes.
I was just curious about Niruddha and Pradyumna, because at least I have not heard, because I'm very, very new to all this. So
Okay.
I just thought, okay, that's it. It's okay, Prabhuji.
Okay, Krishna first expands as Balaram. And of course, the subject, like I mentioned, is detail. And from Balaram, he further expands as Vasudeva, Sankarshna, Pradyumna, Anuruddha. And from that Sankarshna, it is said, he further expands into the second quadruplet, that is Vasudeva, Sankarshna, Pradyumna, Anuruddha. From that Sankarshna comes Shri Mahavishnu. From Mahavishnu, Garbhodaksai Vishnu comes. From Garbhodaksai Vishnu, Shirodaksai Vishnu comes. So that's why I said that subject is very much in detail. Somebody will cover this much more in detail, or if I get this particular topic, I can answer, or you can call me in person. I can then pick up and answer these questions. And so otherwise there'll be too many doubts coming on these subjects.
Sure, Prabhu. Okay. Thank you, Prabhuji.
Thank you, ma'am. Thank you. Hare Krishna.
Prabhuji?
Yes, Mataji.
Actually, I've started chanting one
Okay.
round. Some days I do 2 rounds, but if I try to increase more than that, I'm not able to increase the number of rounds. I somehow fall short, or something comes up in the personal, and so I'm not able to concentrate.
Okay. Now, you have to give some time. You are giving time for so many other things. And in the Shastras, it is explained that if you don't give time to this, you will be automatically engaged by the Lord in other things. So you must give priority to this. And whatever you have started, I'm very happy to hear that you have started chanting 1 round every day. But then it must go up, and not only go up, but it must also be consistent. Like if you are chanting 2 rounds, you must try to chant the 2 rounds every day, somehow or the other. You must try to take time for that. We all want to give our time and energy to so many other things. I don't know the inner details of this thing, how busy, what keeps you busy. But generally, it is said that Maya is so powerful that if you don't want to give time to the Lord, He will make arrangements for you to be engaged in so many other things. So if you have a desire, yes, I must perfect my life in this lifetime, at least start the process. And then it is possible the Lord will guide you within, because He's there in the heart as Paramatma. So you must have first a desire. Yes, I must try to chant 2 rounds. Pray to the Lord, please give me a mercy so that I can chant these 2 rounds every day. And you will see that the Lord definitely helps you. Why not? Because it is in your interest, the Lord knows. So you must have that desire within your heart. Yes, I must do that.
Okay, thank you, Prabhuji.
Anyone else?
So, Prabhuji, one question actually I just popped
Yes.
in my mind.
Yes,
That,
Prabhu.
no, I asked about, that sometimes devotees are reluctant to serve.
Yes.
But why reluctancy actually, first of all, takes place in the heart? Because it's because of the jealousy towards Lord? Or how it is?
Okay. Or what else? Further, you want to ask anything on this question?
No,
Okay.
that's it.
It is said that we have some envy to the Lord, definitely. And why? Because the Lord is opulent. We think that why our Lord is so opulent. So a little bit of jealousy and envy is there in us, which is what is there. And when that happens, then what happens? The illusory energy of the Lord covers us with ignorance. Actually, we are full of, the Lord is Sachidananda, Vigraha. And we being part and parcel of the soul, that is of the Lord, the soul is also Sachidananda. Sachidananda means the soul is eternal, which we know. The soul is blissful and the soul is full of knowledge. So our soul is full of knowledge and we are full of bliss. But because we are in this material body, we don't feel that bliss which we should be having. And that is because everything is covered by the illusion energy, that is Maya. So the process is given how to clean that. So we must take up the process. And I'm sure that those who have taken up the process have found their changes in their life coming up. So similarly, we must take the process, but a lot of determination, desire and determination is required to achieve that, which we should try to for, and for which also we need to pray to the Lord. We have to pray to the Lord, please give me a mercy so that I can build up that desire to serve you. Let me have that determination to serve you. If it is superficial, the Lord will understand, yes, it is superficial. And if it is very natural, yes, At least this jiva is trying to correct himself. The Lord will help you within the heart as Paramatma.
Okay, Prabhu.
So the more we are in the illusory energy of the Lord, the more we have a reluctance to serve the Lord. This is how it works.
Okay, Prabhu. I got the answer.
Yes, Prabhu. Any other questions, comments? Thank you all very much. Grantaraj Srimad Bhagavatam ki jai.
Jai.
Srila Prabhupada ki jai.
His Grace.
Thank you, Prabhuji. Hare Krishna.
Thank you. Hare Krishna.
Prabhuji, you are the host, so please end the meeting when it
Okay,
is.
okay. I'm not a tech-savvy person, so please remind me. Sorry.
No, I got a call and
Okay.
it just made that it